Hello everyone and welcome to another watch video review. This is Japan Watch Connection and I'm glad to have you here today. You're looking at the seiko ananta, a spring drive GMT chronograph, model number sps007j. This watch is absolutely magnificent and I have had the pleasure of owning it for just about 4 months now. I thought this was a good time for me to put together a video review just to let you know about my impressions on this watch and to show you some of its main functionality. Let's get started with the watch itself. This is it's large, but I wanna make an emphasis that it's not an overwhelming watch. Again, it depends on whether you like this particular design, which is inspired by the Japanese ancient katana sword. The dimensions of this ananta are 46 millimeters case width by 15.8 millimeters tall. The lug-to-lug distance for the bracelet is about 24 millimeters, and it tapers down to about, I would say, about 22. That would be my unscientific measurement of at the clasp. This watch is completely manufactured in stainless steel, and it features the Zaratsu finish, which in Japan is the description for the blade polishing technique, which is made completely by hand. It's very labor intensive. It takes many hours and a highly skilled artisan for them to be able to reproduce this kind of highly mirror-like and virtually undistorted reflections of the sides of the case. So this is a beautiful finish, and again, this is I would say that these watches are pretty much very near to the standard of finishing of Grand Seiko spring drive watches. The bracelet is beautiful. It's all brushed, and over here, if you notice, it's got polished sides, so it gives the watch a very nice and understated look. The next element that we have here, this is also in stainless steel. It's got a glossy finish, and this is the tachymeter, a scale for the stopwatch, and of course you have your buttons or pushers to activate and disengage the stopwatch. Reset all hands. You have the crown, it's non-screw down, and it allows you to obviously set the time, date, and it allows you also to hand wind the movement. And it's if you haven't had the opportunity to hand wind a spring drive Seiko, I encourage you to do so because it's one of the most pleasing experiences. It's extremely smooth, firm, and reassuring. And then I'll explain to you about the power reserve in a minute. The crown is not signed on the Ananta series. I think it looks nice. I like signed crowns, but it's not a must for me. For some people, that is kind of a deal breaker. I love also how the chronograph spring drive version of this watch has these indentations on the inner part of the case. This case is semi-monocoque in construction and is held by 6 screws. So when the watch has been serviced, the screws come off, and this part here comes out where the movement resides. So that will be the movement casing. So it's kind of an unusual arrangement instead of the typical screw down case back. You have sapphire crystal here, and you can see the beautiful caliber 5R86 movement, which is completely hand assembled, And I don't know if you can see it there. The finishing of the rotor also pays homage to the handle of the katana sword. And just look at the finishing of the bridge. And it says there that this movement has 50 joules. Here you can see one of the glide wheels. The other one you cannot see it because it's right below this portion of the bridge. But it's absolutely a joy to look at. Very, very high-end, exquisitely finished, hand assembled. This movement has 416 separate components, and it's got over 185 oiling points. This is a beast of a movement that Seiko has developed here completely in-house. No one else but Seiko has this. This you would not find in any other brand or any other watch except on a Seiko spring drive, whether it's Ananta or Grand Seiko or Galante or Creator. Alright, so there you go. That's the movement. You have a sapphire crystal here. The bracelet has solid end links, and the clasp is machined, very solid, high quality. Standard push button, and it's got 2 micro adjustments. Not a problem to find a comfortable fit when resizing it. The only downside of this bracelet is that it uses pins and collars, so it's kind of a letdown on a watch of this high price point. But Seiko claims that pins and collars are more secure than screws that you will find on watches from the Grand Seiko line. I haven't had any problems with either system, other than the sizing is a little bit challenging on this type of bracelet. Alright, so let's take a look at the dial. Notice the gorgeous arrangement of the sub dials. Most watches have the 36.9, which is more typical. I love the way they did this because it allows you to read the sub dials when using the chronograph a lot quicker and at a glance. So let me see if I can. A little bit of problem with the camera today with the zoom. There we go. And here you can see this beautiful dial. Everything that you see there is applied by hand. The markers, the Seiko moniker, the range or the scale for the power reserve indicator, everything that you see there is done by hand. It's got lume in the hands, the GMT hand, and the dial markers on the chapter ring, not on the dial markers themselves. The lume is really good and it lasts throughout the night. Typical Seiko quality. Alright, so you have the minute sub-register dial, the hour sub-register dial, and the real-time sub-register dial, which features, it's a smaller sub-dial, but you can still appreciate the smooth and jitter-free motion of the seconds hand. There you have it. There's the glide motion of the spring drive movement. Alright, so this chronograph runs up to 12 hours. And here you have the buttons or the pushers for the stopwatch function. Some people have pointed out that they feel that they're very big, not only on the Ananta version but also on the Grand Seiko spring drive chronograph. And there's a reason for this. Seiko did this in purpose, and this is not just to be contrarian or to do something to annoy people from a design standpoint, but rather to give the user of the stopwatch greater control, comfort, and precision over the use of the chronograph, and therefore generate more precise time measurements. Same as your digital camera, this button that starts here the chronograph has the start, set, go system. So if you have used a mechanical chronograph or a professional stopwatch to measure sporting events, you may be familiar with the system. So here we go. I'm going to fire it up, and pay attention here, the very reassuring snap of of the system. It's fantastic, guys. You need to try this. You have to play with one of these so you see what I mean. And there you go. You have the seconds hand traveling effortlessly across the dial. There we go. So hope you can see that. And it is absolutely jitter free. There's no stuttering. There's nothing. So what this system affords, the spin direct chronograph gives you the most precise time readings, because when you stop the hand, it stops exactly at the tick mark and the dial. There you have it. Some other chronographs, the hand may jump one tick over or go to the nearest one. No, this one is absolutely precise. Here we can resume operation, and then when it comes up to a minute, the hand on the minute register registers 1 minute, and it'll keep doing that until until it reaches 30, and then so on and so forth. So the scale here is readings in 30-minute increments. Here is 12 hours. Alright, so while the chronograph is still running, let me show you the other dial elements that we have here. And I apologize beforehand for the zoom function on this camera that for some reason is not cooperating with me today. So here we have it. Take a look at that beautiful dial. So the power reserve of this movement is 72 hours. Right now it's a little bit under, probably about 68, 67 hours. So if I hang win it, it should increase it, or should be very, very close to 72 hours. But since this watch has an automatic rotor, as I wear it, it'll charge it up completely to 72 hours. You have your date window at 3 o'clock and your GMT hand. The GMT hand, this watch is a true GMT in the sense that if I'm traveling, I can pull out the crown and I can independently set the time, look at that, without having to stop the watch. And I can go backwards and forwards, and the date wheel is linked to the hour hand. So I can go backwards and forwards whenever I want to without fearing breaking the quick set system. This watch doesn't have a quick set because the date is linked to the hour hand. And to me, it kind of makes it easier to use in a way. So to go to the next day, you will have to do a full 24-hour rotation, and there you go. And the date, by the way, changes exactly at 12 a.m. And then pull the crown back in, and I'm good to go. I'm in my new time zone. So this right now is set to GMT, and this is to another time zone. And then if I travel back, unlikely the same day, I can go back, and there you go. And the date went back to today's date, the 17th. The GMT hand can be sent to another time zone, and here you can see the fixed 24-hour chapter ring. Or it can also be used as an AM or PM indicator. So let me go ahead and stop the chronograph, and this button here resets all hands perfectly and balanced back to 0. This chronograph has a column wheel and a vertical clutch, which makes it the most ideal system. It's also more expensive and more complex than your standard cam, like which is used in the Valjuk 7750. So this is light years away from a 7750 in terms of architecture and operation. Hope you enjoyed the review, and if you have any questions, let me